if you're getting this message, my son will not be attending school. I guess maybe ever. I don't know. I just want to let you know that you win, okay? But not in the way you wanted. I don't know why I so easily accepted the notion that over 90% of teachers in America for kindergarten are women. Um, I guess it's a whole maternal thing. Um, that would be a fine, except in this case. My my son's name is Jackson. Um, he normally goes to Miss Monroe's class. Um, I'm I'm not letting him go back there. Not after last night. Um, I will explain myself, but we're already leaving, so don't bother trying to contact somebody to stop us. Jackson Jackson loved Miss Monroe. We all did. It didn't dawn on me, uh, or rather, the whole percentage thing didn't kick in until I guess later. But I started to notice that there's no male teachers in the kindergarten class. In fact, there's no male teachers in the school. Um, and I normally wouldn't have a problem with that until now. So, like I said, Jackson loved Miss Monroe. She was a good teacher, um, but something seemed irregular, um, different. I don't know what. Um, I could never put my finger on it. Um, she seemed to anticipate Jackson's needs a little better than even we could, which in any other scenario would be great. But it kind of came with this air of, look at these fools. And I say I say Jackson and mine. Um, as you may or may not know, I am a single parent. And there would be this notion of, look at this guy. He can't even figure out what his son needs. Um, and I get it a lot, so I don't care. I love my son, and this is me loving my son and never coming back. Because I don't even know who to go to with what I saw and what I know. So the problem started really last week as we were approaching Halloween. There was a permission slip for a Halloween party, which initially I thought was weird because I figured you guys would just have it in the school. We always did a costume parade and then a party on the night of Halloween in the school during school hours. And then the kids would go home and then they could go straight to trick or treating. But the for whatever reason, this party wants to run until 2 in the morning? And why 2 in the morning? I don't understand. So I called around with the other parents, and they all seemed to be really into it. Like, oh yeah, we get to have a night all to ourselves. The school just takes care of them. And the kids come home and they're so well behaved and so tuckered out that we just really enjoy it. And I mean, that sounds great. I mean, Jackson still has nightmares about him. But 2 in the morning? Why 2 in the morning? What happens at 2 that they have to stop? So I erred on the side of caution and I said no. I told Jackson we can have a special night together. I'll take him trick-or-treating and everything will be fine and it'll be way better than any party, and then he can go to bed whenever he wants. Which is normally like around 9, by the way. My kid doesn't normally stay up past 9. The next day I found a new permission slip with the yes box circled and a little note from Miss Monroe. Please check here. And I looked at it, told my son that I'm not going to do this, checked no, and sent him to school. That afternoon was the first phone call with Miss Monroe. And it was arguably pleasant, I guess. But she was not okay. You could tell it in her voice. She was very condescending, very, you're mistreating your son. You're not allowing him to grow and develop as a child. You're coddling him. He needs to be here for the party. And I said, no. When he is an adult, he can go to any party he wants to. While he lives under my roof, he'll go to the parties that I deem all right. And no child at his age needs to be at a party until 2 in the morning. And I eventually just hung up the phone. She kept persisting, but I didn't even listen anymore. Fast forward to the night of, and Miss Monroe just tried to forge the permission slip. And I know that because I know I never at any point signed any permission slip with yes. And yet there she was at the school when I drove up to pick up Jackson. And she was trying to convince me. It's like, oh no, I have his slip. You said yes, so he's staying with us. And I said, no, I'm taking him out of the school now. The school day is over. He comes with me. She pled with me, please, you have to keep Jackson here. And I said, no, I don't. I don't have to. And this went back and forth and back and forth. And that's when the other kindergarten teachers stormed out and started yelling and chanting and just horribly upset that I would not let Jackson stay. And I yelled above them. I said, who are you to tell me what to do with my son? You're not even his teachers. Miss Monroe is, and I don't agree. And as his parent, I'm saying no. I was angry and upset. I was moments away from shoving one of these ladies. That upset. Not hit, just shove. I didn't like how close they were getting to my son. I don't like anybody being near my son. but me. After what happened to his mother. Names were called, insults thrown, mud was slung, and I picked up my son and I got in the car. And that's when I started noticing that the chanting, along with the insults, they weren't in English. At least, as far as I can tell, I don't even know if they were in a known language. It almost sounded like weird Carpathian, like Far East European, Slavic sounds. Just vicious barking. But it was almost in unison. If it weren't for the one or two of them that were shouting out regular insults in English, I wouldn't even have noticed. We started to drive home, and that's when Jackson started making the sound. Jackson barely makes noises when he's sick. It's how I know when he's really sick, because he starts trying to groan out his frustration, pain, nausea. So when it started, I just dismissed it as that, but it grew, and it grew, and it was like a voice underneath the voice. I don't know if you've ever heard a sound that was never meant to come out of a person or an object that it shouldn't. This was a low, almost growl. And I could tell that Jackson wasn't trying to direct it at me. He was still upset at how he felt. Almost like he wanted to vomit out something. Just a horrible underneath a child's voice. Just, it would come again and again. And I kept looking back and I kept trying to say, Jackson, are you all right? Are you feeling sick? Should I pull over? And I no more than saw him try to nod his head when it hit me. Just a horrific pain in my stomach. Like 1,000 rocks laid on top of my chest, pushing me down into my seat. I could barely keep my foot on the brake as I slowed myself to a stop, threw on the parking brake, and just held there. I was terrified that the whatever was pushing down on me was going to make me slip my foot onto the gas and drive us into a ditch. I sat there just groaning with my son, and we're just desperately trying to just breathe. It's just so much weight, so much pressing weight on me, and I couldn't move. But I could look. And as I looked, I saw in the side view mirror Miss Monroe and the other teachers walking in unison, their bodies hunched, swaying in an unnatural sidestep as they moved, like they had to walk around something else just to move forward. Their faces contorted and twisted into vicious, angry scowls. And that's when I heard her say, "Come, my sisters," not teachers. I decided as a father, being pushed down in some inexplicable way, barely able to move, that sometimes dangerous choices have to be made. I did everything I could to put my hand against the wheel and hold it steady as I shoved my foot from the brake to the gas, but I'd forgotten the parking brake. Miss Monroe's hand grabbed at my side view mirror, and somehow the shock of that twisted, contorted, bony hand latching hold was enough to snap me out of whatever was affecting me. And I hand slipped right back onto the parking brake and disengaged it, and we sped off. I didn't stop driving until we left the state. You'll find all of Jackson's work and his paperwork. You'll find even his toys. Everything's still there. My stuff there too. This is the only message I'm gonna send. I'm never coming back. And neither is Jackson. And you best believe, as much as I love anybody that works hard to teach my son, that I'm going to know them way more before they get to even say hello to him. Goodbye.